Good evening, everyone. Tonight, we're taking a look at the USB Disruptor. This is a nifty little product. What it does is it pulls power and USB data from two different sources and outputs them. The idea is that it's supposed to give you cleaner power through USB and give you cleaner data transmission. The thought is that sometimes if you're running data and power from a single USB port, you're going to be pulling in noise. This is because, for example, from like my laptop, right? There's noise coming in from that power supply that's present in that circuit, and then it comes out of the USB when I'm transmitting data and power into another device like a DAC. So the idea is that USB Disruptor helps to solve this problem by isolating power and data on the input and then combining them on the output in a way that is optimal. So for me, the way that I felt to test this product was to listen to it. I don't do measurements, I don't have the equipment. And the way that I felt was best to listen to this was continuously. I integrated the little guy into my home speaker system with a DAC. Listened to it for about 3 to 4 weeks continually and then removed it. Now what I did is I listened to the same album that I had been listening to for the last 4 weeks and took note of the differences that I heard. And the biggest impact that I found with my speakers in my system and in my home, in the room I'm listening to, was high frequency noise was smoother and less fatiguing when I used the USB Disruptor. But this phenomenon or this benefit was unique to specific sources. And let's talk about which. Anything that has an internal battery and provides data and power from the USB, such as a cell phone or digital audio player. When I paired those sources with a DAC, like the March Audio DAC 1 that takes both USB and power on the input, I did find that with my speakers and in the room that I was in, that the Disruptor did make an impact. It did give me a slightly less fatiguing, slightly smoother top-end presentation. Now the differences were really not drastic. You know, I listened to the same tracks. I listened to particularly the drums, the hi-hats, the cymbals, and when of course the switch happened, that's what stood out to me first, was that they were a bit splashier, a bit over-exaggerated almost, a little bit harsher. And I of course listened volume matched. Now what you guys need to know about the speakers that I'm listening to, they're JBL 305 PMK2s, studio monitors. I have them set up on ISOMAX isolators so that, you know, there's not a lot of resonance from the stands and from the speaker themselves, and that stuff doesn't get transmitted. So essentially the point that I'm making is the studio models I listen to are very flat and kind of sterile sounding. It is a Class D integrated amplifier, so while the performance is very good, it's certainly not top of the line. But again, the point that I'm trying to make is with this modest speaker setup, it was apparent to me the difference that this made. Again, I listened to a USB output, my digital USB output from a battery powered source into a USB powered DAC into a set of active monitors. In that listening situation, I felt that the Disruptor did make an impact and was beneficial. Now, where didn't it make an impact? It did not have an impact with products such as the JDS Labs LDAC. The LDAC does have its own separate power input, and it does of course pull the USB without needing power from it. And I found that with the LDAC, the Disruptor didn't make a discernible impact. Maybe on some tracks you could argue it made a difference, on other tracks you could argue that it didn't. But overall, I didn't feel that it made an impact. Another instance where it didn't make an impact was with battery-powered USB devices, such as the iFi XDSD or even something basic like the FiO E17. With these products, I did not feel that the Disruptor really made a difference. So for me, recommending this product does come with an asterisk or with a stipulation. There's a specific instance where I found it to be beneficial and a specific instance where I found it to be worth the asking price. For those curious, the price is right at about $150. And really, the most value that this product has, I feel, is with a home system that is based around a portable battery-powered source. So if you have a digital audio player that you carry with you on the go and that you bring home and use as your source, then yes, the USB Disruptor may be a beneficial purchase to you. Once you get home and you sit at your desk, you can place your portable source down, feed the data into the disruptor, have power pulled into the disruptor separately, and feed that into your USB-powered DAC. Now, if you have a dedicated at-home system, which is a self-powered source, a self-powered DAC, then you may not find this product to be worthwhile. The other comparison that needs to be mentioned is comparing the USB Disruptor to stuff like the Untitled or even I have another USB to coax converter. Oh, I think it's the Sing Xer. Anyways, I believe it's the F1. So that's the other side of this, is I in my home don't use USB unless I have a portable battery powered source. So again, in my home system, I use coax. And I switched to coax because I found it to be driverless, and I found that in a lot of instances, the coaxial input of stuff like my LDAC and even my own audio GD DAC were better than that of USB. This isn't to say that USB as an input is bad, but I prefer coaxial input in desktop systems. The other thing that I will mention, I've heard very good USB implementations. The most notable one is the Play from Burson. So the Burson Audio Play, in my opinion, had some of the best USB input. Again, when I fed it USB, it was phenomenally black and very clean. So obviously they really thought that circuit out. So again, my point isn't to say that USB is bad and you should go coaxial. My point is that this product at $150 is a bit limited in its scope. Again, if you have a portable source that you use on the go and at home in a desktop system, you may find it beneficial. Another instance that you may really benefit from this product is if you are doing shows as often as I do. When I go to a trade show, a head-fi meet, some of them are trade shows, depends on how big it is, but if I'm at a meet and I've got a table set up, a lot of people are going to connect their sources to my DACs. And having something like this is really going to help kind of normalize, right, the performance of that DAC with a variety of sources. Because I don't know the status of that component. I don't know if the battery's in good condition. I don't know how much, you know what I mean? So for me, that's another added value of this, is if you are at a show and you need a good solution to normalize a variety of USB inputs, it may be worthwhile. But I think for the common consumer, for those of you who are at home and those of you who are using desktop systems, there's likely not going to be a lot of value. So again, of course, if you need a product like it that separates power and USB and then combines them on the output, the Disruptor is a good choice. I feel that it does serve its intended purpose well when you're pairing it with systems that benefit from it. So guys, let's take a quick look at the product just to get an idea of the build. It is composed entirely of plastic. Again, this is power, this is the USB. The combined USB is on the output. The black is a black plastic board. Screws on the bottom and a sticker. I mean, overall, it's not really, it doesn't really have really any impression one way or the other. It doesn't feel incredibly premium, and it doesn't feel poorly made either. Again, part of the qualm that I have on the price is it is a small block of plastic with power on one end and then USB on the other. For $150, you can also purchase something like the Untitled, which is composed of an entirely metal chassis and does have a bit of a more robust interface. So on one hand, this is very streamlined, this is very straightforward, there's not a lot of waste, but on the other hand, I don't know, it might be nicer as a fully fledged out desktop component with maybe a nicer looking chassis. Feels well made, super light, easy to carry. I didn't have any problems plugging anything in. Again, there wasn't a lot of play or wiggle in either the USBs, and the power was firm. Power was firmly seated, I should say. So, guys, again, in conclusion, my thoughts on the Disruptor are, if you need it, it serves a purpose, and it serves its purpose well. My thoughts are that you look at some other competing products in this price point or in this category, because again, this one is a bit costly. I will say, If cost is not a concern for you and you simply want something that works, then by all means, this works. I will also, again, want to thank Todd, the Vinyl Junkie, for allowing me the chance to demo this in my home, and definitely want you guys to check out his website, as he's got quite a bit of specials sometimes on gear that he's getting in, as well as a very nice, gently used section of gear that he sells. But overall, again, guys, please leave your comments, questions, and feedback below. I look forward to hearing from you. And as always, happy listening.